Friday, May 26. From the Great Controversy, page 383, we read, "The message of Revelation 14, announcing the fall of Babylon, must apply to religious bodies that were once pure and have become corrupt. Since this message follows the warning of the judgment, it must be given in the last days. Therefore it cannot refer to the Roman Church alone, for that church has been in a fallen condition for many centuries." End of quote. Daniel 3, the story of the three Hebrews who had been ordered to worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up in Daniel 3:5 in ancient Babylon, stands as a symbol, a model of what will happen when spiritual Babylon in the last days will enforce worship of a false image as well. As we read in Revelation 13, verse 15, "He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast be killed." And Revelation 14, verse 9, "Then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast in his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand," and verse 11, "and the smoke of their torment ascends for ever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name." And Revelation 16, verse 2, "So the first went and poured out his bowl upon the earth, and a foul and loathsome sore came upon the men who had the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image." And Revelation 19, verse 20, "Then the beast was captured, and with him the false prophet, who worked signs in his presence, by which he deceived those who received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped the image. These two were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone." And Revelation 20, verse 4. "And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was committed to them. Then I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their witness to Jesus and for the word of God, who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received his mark on their foreheads or on their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. How interesting that the commandment that the three Hebrews would have violated had they obeyed the king, the second commandment, as we saw in Exodus 20 verses 4 and 5, was one of the two commandments that this power depicted in another place as seeking to change times and laws in Daniel 7:25 had tampered with. What was the other commandment it tampered with? Of course, the fourth commandment, which, as we have seen and will see again, sits at the heart of the whole question of worship, and will be central in the final crisis when we face the question of whether we will worship the one who made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day, or the beast and his image, as depicted in Exodus 20, verse 11, and reiterated in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 7, saying with a loud voice, "Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and springs of water." And that brings us to our discussion questions for this week, and there are four. Number 1, what relationship does the Tower of Babel have to modern spiritual Babylon? What are the similarities between the two? 2, how do you harmonize two contrasting ideas? Jesus has given authority to his church, but it is dangerous to place our religious experience in the hands of any spiritual leader. What are the limits of church authority? 3, how can we learn that idolatry, one of the sins of Babylon, isn't just bowing down to statues? In what ways can even Protestants fall into idolatry? And 4, what are some other parallels you can find between Daniel 3 and the forced worship there, and what we have been warned about in the last days? And here's Sibylla with Inside Story. Thank you, Sibylla.
Bike and Bible, Part 1, by M.B. as told to Kathy Lichtenwalter. I wish you could meet Hussein, the security guard for the building where my wife and I live as missionaries in the Middle East. From the time we first met, we could see he observed his faith carefully and lived with sincerity. I liked him. Hussein visited our home many times, and he invited us to his as well. We often conversed about the simple things in life, and even sometimes about spirituality. At our initiative, he graciously joined us in prayer. As our friendship grew, by God's grace, we sought to take a new step in our friendship. We began to pray for the right moment to give him a Bible. One day, I noticed that Hussein was upset. He impatiently explained that his bicycle, his only transportation to work, had been stolen. He was preoccupied with trying to find a bicycle to borrow. That's the day that I began praying for a bicycle for my friend. Several months had passed, and we received an unexpected gift of $40. I was puzzled. It seemed like God had sent the money directly from heaven. As I was praying a short time later, the distinct thought came to me. Show Jesus to your friend, buy a bicycle for Hussein. I set aside the $40 and began adding to it. But the country's economy worsened by the day, and no matter how much money I saved, I did not seem to have enough to buy a bicycle. But I kept praying and saving. I also went to many second-hand bicycle shops. I began imagining what it'd be like to give Hussein a bicycle for his birthday. When Hussein's birthday came, my wife baked a cake. I planned a special menu, and we invited him for supper at 5:30 p.m. Certain that God could still answer with a miracle, I went out looking for the bicycle that we had prayed about for so long. At 5 p.m. I returned home, unsuccessful and discouraged. My wife reminded me that God knew how much we wanted to help and had prayed. He's taken care of the situation, she said. The supper was a perfect surprise. Hussein was delighted. He told us how blessed he was to have us in his life. We enjoyed the meal together, presented him with the cake, and had a special prayer for him, thanking God for his life. But we had no bike, no gift. The next day, still searching for a second-hand bike, I was startled by an online post indicating that a Russian man had listed a bicycle for sale only 10 minutes earlier. I couldn't believe the price, the photo and the condition of the bicycle. I grabbed my phone, contacted the owner, and even bravely asked for a discount. The deal was made. As I lifted the bicycle into my car, I knew God had answered our prayers. The bicycle had cost the exact amount that I had saved over many, many months. The mission story concludes next week.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.